I'm going to introduce our guest speaker today, Samantha Blender. Samantha is the marketing manager and content strategy at SWSE. She works with the OHL Sudbury Wolves, the Sudbury Five, the Sudbury Cyclones, and the Basketball Super League, and she has driven over 900% increase on social media. Like, I don't know what she's doing, but we're going to find out today and we're going to see how it's working. Her approach is really rooted in that elite trend spotting, content mining, and highly engaging player-focused storytelling. If you've seen their Instagram, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They are the lead in integrated campaigns with graphic design, PR, media, and in-game promotions. Very boots on the ground leadership style. And today we're going to find out all about how they do that, how they get it done, what does their team look like, how do they plan content across, these four teams, and get into, maybe we'll uncover some secrets and some good advice. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to just rearrange my notes here to get my interview questions and all. And we will begin. So Sam, it's great to have you.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you all so much for registering to be here. I was definitely really nervous and excited and then shocked to find out that so many people were interested in hearing me speak. So I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.
Okay, so to get us started, everybody's wondering, so for the marketing, Sudbury Wolves, Sudbury Cyclones, Sudbury Five, what led you to get to work to them? What made it so that, you got into this role, into this position? What was your history to get to here?
Okay, so let's dive into that. My history, I started making social media content as a hobby on my own. I think I've been doing it now for like 6 years. And I really dove into the beauty industry and made my headway there. But the beauty industry it's kind of fleeting. I found it a little bit unfulfilling, and I really wanted to dive into something that I could have a greater impact in, something with a more widespread. Um, and I've always been a huge fan of the Wolves. So I thought, you know what, maybe I'll shoot my shot and see if I can get my foot in the door there. At the time, I was working with the Downtown Sudbury BIA. So I actually did have a couple connections with Dario Zulich and some of the people that worked here with the Wolves. So I was able to get my foot in the door here and actually start making an impact in marketing that was multifaceted because sports marketing is a lot of different things. It's event marketing, it's product marketing, it's sports promotion, theme creation. It's a little bit of everything, and I think that's what really initially drew me into it.
That is awesome. So when you joined the team, what did that look like? Because I saw that at SWSE, it's really like a team, like you're not doing this alone.
Mhm.
So can you tell us more about what is your specific role and then how do you collaborate and work with the rest of your team members?
Okay, yeah. So when I first started working here, I was just hired as the content strategist, kind of like the creative direction of all of our promotion and social media. And then that role kind of evolved and changed into the manager of marketing and still content strategy and social media. It's a very multifaceted role, which means now I get to lead a team. So I have an expansive team of multiple graphic designers, a videographer, photographer, a communications officer. We accept lots of interns. We have volunteers. We have a game day staff. We're one department in the organization. So there's a ticketing team, there's a business operation team. We all work collaboratively. It's my job to lead and come up with the campaigns and safeguard the brand and organize our tasks and keep everybody on the right track and overall come up with the majority of like the promotion and content for all of the marketing for the Wolves, the Five, the Cyclones, Spartans, and all the other things that we do.
Goodness. So, what does it look like to be planning and managing a campaign? How do you like get your ideas and then divide it amongst the team and look at manage that leadership?
So luckily, the teams that we do have are all very different. We have a hockey team, a basketball team, a soccer team. We technically also have a football team. They all have off seasons and then seasons where they're in season. So we plan content around those ups and downs. Like right now, we're in the middle of the Sudbury Wolves and Sudbury Five season. So we planned the themes and I would say like the overall campaign in the summertime. And then there's like kind of like smaller mini campaigns that we plan as the season goes because it's a little bit difficult when you have as many games as we do to plan that far in ahead for everything that's going to happen, especially if what ends up happening is there's a specific game that we're not loving the projected attendance for, so we develop new campaigns to try and encourage ticket sales or whatnot. So it can be a little bit difficult, but we really rely on the off seasons to create those foundations and create those plans, and then we go from there.
And then when you're doing your planning, are you also looking at like what trends you want to participate in and what you think will be popular, like when it is the season?
I mean, it's you can predict what will be popular months in advance, but when it comes to social content, you can't. So like a huge role of mine is what I like to call trend spotting. I'm sure that's a term that many people use. Content mining. So I just focus. It involves a lot of social media consumption. So it's actually, it's not for everybody. But I just almost data mine and look for things that I think will be trending either in the future, things that are trending, things that can be turned into a trend or
Mhm.
things that just overall consumers are enjoying. Um, and then we kind of go from there. Like obviously there's a lot of digital fatigue right now where people are actually, not loving social media and not loving digital promotion. They'd prefer to get off their phones. They're anti-AI. So we're looking right now for the future, how to plan campaigns around that.
Yeah, because that's something I've definitely noticed is that like with COVID, we went so hard into like digital promo because it was just you couldn't do anything physical anymore. And then now it's starting to like the pendulum is starting to swing the other way, where now it's becoming a little bit of the opposite, where people are trying to get off. So it's a very interesting
Literally.
time to navigate.
Yeah.
So kind of going off of that, when it comes to then managing like all these sports teams and all these campaigns, how do you approach or do you approach the different teams differently and how does that look like?
So that's actually been my goal and also my challenge. When I came into this company, what it looked like from my perspective is that we did like a copy and paste. Like we looked at the wolves and
Mm,
how we did things, and then so and by we, I mean my predecessors, we assumed that whatever works for the Wolves will work for the Five and the Cyclones. And mind you, these are different sports, these are different industries, they're different level of sport. So my goal, and it's been the most challenging thing, I think, is kind of like reinventing the wheel. What does our
mm,
consumer look like? Who is our target audience? Um, like for the Wolves versus the Cyclones, because the seasons are in two different seasons of the year. They're two totally separate sports. They activate totally separate audiences. Northern Ontario is a very hockey focused area, I
mhm,
would say. Soccer
mhm.
is really big, but it's not as big, but it is emerging because we do have a huge group and population of new Canadians. So it's kind of just like looking at these different niches and seeing um, how we can do better because you can always do better.
Absolutely. And that kind of goes into my next question, which is like with looking to always do better, you always want to see your followers grow and grow and grow.
Mhm.
But with sports fan, it's kind of like either you're a fan of the Wolves or you're not a fan of the Wolves. So
Mhm.
how do you reach non-followers? How do you get people to kind of start getting interested in the Sudbury local teams?
Right. So I would say that sports in general is very geographic. Most people are a fan of their local or close team. Um, so generally I would say most people in Sudbury, unless they're not from Sudbury, know who the Wolves are and are like kind of like auxiliary fans.
Hmm?
Or primary fans. Those are the people that are coming to our games, they're buying our merch. Um, they're invested. We also have what I like to call like occasional fans. They're people that know the team. Maybe they'll come like once in a while. They're not really invested, but activating, I would say, non-followers is something that we do through digital marketing.
Hmm.
Getting those new fans to see our team. We usually use mostly digital content, like social media. We're bridging into the world of influencers as well,
Yep.
which is it's a little bit different when it comes to sport influencing, but we're getting there. And I think that those two avenues are really huge for just new followers. I'm looking more for new fans. I'm trying to create like a lifetime fan from someone who's, you know, 10 right now. How do I engage with them and make them want to watch the Wolves until they're 80? So,
Yeah.
right now, that the biggest avenue, even though there is digital fatigue, is still digital marketing, social media marketing.
Absolutely. So, kind of going off the influencer pathways. So, we've seen now that there's been this big rise in hockey TV shows with
Mhm.
Shoresy and Heated Rivalry. So, I'm curious to hear if those shows like being popular now has increased your audience. And if so, if you can speak a little bit more about how outside factors, like a TV show that you have nothing to do with, like Heated Rivalry, how that then creates actually opportunities for you guys.
Yeah, so I'll say generally speaking, anything that becomes this viral, like Heated Rivalry, is good for us because who is watching these shows, right? More often than not, it's an audience of people who don't love sports, but
Hmm.
they love the story of whatever the show is portraying, which means that we're introducing new people to the world of sports. So that's great for us.
Yes.
We want more than just your typical sports fan to be a fan of sports because, or the Wolves essentially, because, it's not just about, it doesn't have to be so male dominated. It doesn't have to be so like very stereotypically fan dominated. We want all kinds of people to enjoy the Wolves because it's more than just a game for us. Um, so yeah, like shows like this, it's exciting to see. I see it all over social media. It's just different types of people who never in their life would ever consider going to a sports game. They're like, you know what, maybe I'm gonna go. I love seeing that because that used to be me before I started working here. I just wasn't, I liked the Wolves because it's my hometown team, but I wasn't really interested. I wasn't a sports girl, and now I'm like, I'm in the thick of it. It's changed my whole life and my whole perspective, and I think everybody should get involved with that. Lucky for us, Shorzy was shot in our barn. So that is just a tool that we specifically get to use. It's great for all of sports and definitely all of hockey, I would say, but it's much better for us.
Yeah.
We actually get to benefit from it.
Yeah, I love seeing all the TikToks now of all the girls going to hockey games since watching Heated Rivalry and
Yes.
calling it like the boy aquarium. I
Yes, the
thought
boy
that's so
aquarium.
cute. And it's very reminiscent because I was kind of the same way as you, where like I had no interest in sports. I was not a
Right.
sports kid. It was not my thing. But now that like I understand so much more about like the player mentality and
Hmm.
like what they're going through, because
Hmm.
I don't know, like in my mind, I was like, if you're in the third period, 3 minutes left, and your team is losing by 2 points, like, wouldn't you want to just like give up and be like, well, clearly we're not going to win? And I've had people tell me, they're like, no, 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 those 3 minutes, like everything could change. Like you want to make the most. You can score, you can tie and then go into overtime. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to see like the excitement. I'm starting to get a lot more into this actually now that
Yeah,
I understand
hockey
it better.
it's crazy and it's unpredictable, and that's the thing too, especially because we're the OHL, right? So most of our guys are between that 16 to
Hmm.
20 age range. This is everything they've ever worked for, and it's very, very, very important to them. So they're kids, obviously, they have a capacity of what they can do. They're not full grown adults, but they work so hard. They work so hard. And like whether they win or lose, I think that that's something that people don't really recognize. Who, if you didn't play hockey, you have no idea about like that, just the dedication that it takes, and also how exciting it can be, because like you mentioned, it's hockey is very unpredictable. I
Uh,
still have a hard time predicting it. I've seen us come back from games where, I thought we were going to lose, or I thought we were playing really bad, and then all of a sudden we end up winning. I've seen us win against teams that are much, much better than us, and it's very exhilarating once you get into it. So I'm grateful to shows like Heated Rivalry and Shorzy for, just opening the door for people. I love
mm.
that.
I love the quote from Shorzy where he says, like, they don't hate to lose. And
Mm,
it's like, yeah, winning's great, but like if you're okay with losing, like that's what kills your competitive edge. You
yeah.
have to hate losing. You have
Yeah.
to like have that drive.
It's actually
Uh,
funny that you say that, because people comment when we lose, people will comment that under our graphics, and I go, "Come on, guys, they're just kids."
so I actually
Funny.
have a question about that I didn't have written down. What is it like working with all of these athletes and these young boys that are in their career, but that you have to manage like their photo shoots and interviews and everything like that. So what is it like working with these young athletes?
It's very weird because they live, excuse me, they like live in a bubble. Most of them, the OHL is an educational development league technically. So these children that have to go to school, but it's very scaled back because the major focus is hockey. So they're just athletes. They're kids, but they're athletes. So they're living in this bubble. They're a little bit weird to work with. They need extra support, I would say, to focus and kind of just stay on track when it comes to things that aren't directly related to their sport. So when we do massive campaign shoots, it's a lot of organization. I feel like a school teacher or a school principal where I'm like ushering kids along, like let's go, let's go, let's go. But overall, they're so sweet. They're very dedicated. I feel like I've grown very protective of them because I can see, the way that they're treated on social media when they lose, but I see how hard they work, at all the practices and just the time and effort that they put in, and the love that they have for the game. So I do end up feeling a little bit protective, because they're all so good. They're such good guys.
You kind of get sad when they get like traded and some of the
Oh,
players leave.
literally. Uh, we recently had to we did two trades to benefit our team in the future, but we traded
Mm.
two players that had been on the Sudbury Wolves for, I think, their whole career, about 4 years. Um, so that one was hard. It was hard hitting for our organization, but also for our community, because that's the thing about being a smaller local team. People get invested into these players, and that's
Yeah.
what's really important.
Yeah, they kind of become like little mini celebrities, right?
Yes, literally.
Okay, so kind of going back to the social media, like the results, the numbers.
Hmm.
So, in my research, I found that while working with the Sudbury Wolves, you increase their social media reach by 900%, resulting in 15 million views per month. How did you accomplish this?
So, this, I would say, grand rising of numbers all kind of started last season. Um, I had been working here for about 3 or 4 months, and during that time, I saw what was being done before. It was very sport focused. It was very rigid, which isn't a bad thing, but there was nothing social or relatable about the content before I had arrived. So my goal with getting here was to make the team relatable so that whether they win or they lose, it didn't really matter. Because you wanted to
Mm.
see these players, you wanted to get to know them. You ended up like I wanted to create a place where people were coming to our account because they liked this guy and they liked this guy, or this guy eats the same ice cream as me. And then this guy, this guy has the same hockey stick as whatever. So my goal in those first few months of me working here was just getting player content, socializing with the players, focusing on asking them questions, connecting with them, hearing their answers, and then also obviously jumping on trends early.
Mhm.
I think that we were probably one of the first I believe we were one of, I'm not going to toot my own horn, okay? I know we're the first team to jump on the 6-7 trend. Even before like the Maple Leafs and the Calgary Flames. So I think that we were stepping into a space where we were transitioning from purely sport focused content to social media, which a lot of
Ah.
teams hadn't actually got there.
Mhm.
Um, so just remaining consistent in that and posting like every day funny comedic, relatable content, we were able to grow our views very quickly and then also grow our following. We've grown by, I believe, 13,000 followers in the last year just on Instagram alone. And our engagement is through the roof. So, I mean, and this is helpful because this season our team isn't actually performing very well, but we're still one of the top socially performing teams in the league. So I think that just has a lot to do with creating that relatable content that people actually want to connect with.
Now, did one of these campaigns do better than you had expected? Like that you were like, oh, like this campaign's good, like it'll do fine, and then it blew up. Did that ever happen? And why did you think that it wasn't going to be as successful? And why do you think it ended up being such a big hit?
So back to that word relatable. So we did a game, believe a few months ago now, a Sunday game, and we wanted to do something sensory friendly. So we wanted to lower the noise, turn off the goal horn, create a quiet space for people with sensory needs, and just overall quiet the game so that people can come enjoy it who maybe can't come to our games because they're so loud and there's so much going on. So we launched our sensory friendly campaign. Um, my son has autism and he has sensory needs. So I used him as the focus of the campaign. And I was, as a mom, obviously very concerned, but just I wasn't sure. It's very controversial because people they need loud. They want the loud. They want the crowd to roar. They want the horn to be like piercing your ears. So I was concerned that it was going to be a dud because I thought, well, sports fans are just not gonna, they're not gonna like this. They're not gonna take to it. And little did I expect, it ended up being one of our, I would say, most successful campaigns, especially in terms of just building awareness for people who are sports fans with sensory needs.
Mhm.
We don't really, that's not really a focal point of sports, but we created a platform for these people to, speak up and say, I have sensory needs and I love sports, but I have to watch it at home because of all of these things. So we gave them a space to be able to come to our game. And we ended up generating hundreds of thousands of views just on these few photo and video posts. And it obviously in turn increased our ticket revenue for that night. And I think overall just had a great community impact. So that was amazing. I really, really didn't expect it, but I'm very happy with the way that one turned out.
Such a nice thing to have where it feeds your personal life and your
Mhm,
career, right? So it's like
mhm.
you didn't just succeed like, oh, I did something great for work, but it's like you also succeeded in doing something great for your own child. It's just, oh,
Yes.
that's incredible.
Yeah, that one meant a lot to me.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to chat a little bit more about Shorzy
Okay.
because a few months ago there was a Wolves game with the cast of Shoresy. I can see you like already going to go reach over for it. So for those who don't know, Shoresy is a TV show about a fictional hockey team, which is the Sudbury Blueberry Bulldogs. For the game, for this special collab game, you actually designed an original jersey combining the Sudbury Wolves look with the Shoresy fictional jersey. Can
Hmm.
you show it to us?
Of
And
course.
how did you go about designing it?
Okay, so I'll show you first, but this is the jersey. So this is the Shorzy logo here on the front. We put the Wolves logo here on the shoulder. And then I'll get into the small touches. So essentially, I grew up here in Sudbury my whole life. Um, which means that I grew up picking blueberries with my parents every single summer, um, and going to the Sudbury Blueberry Festival, going down to French River, seeing the Blueberry Bear. Blueberries, I don't know why, but blueberries were a big part of my life. So um, when this opportunity arose, when I was able to do this, I was ecstatic. I was very excited. I was instantly drawn to the idea of combining the jersey with the blueberry. And how do I do that? How do I make that happen? Um, because I would say that the past jerseys that were done in the organization were kind of bland, and I didn't want to go bland. So what we did was we created a blueberry pattern here to create the shoulder piece, and it's just a repeating blueberry. It's very adorable. We also went with the dark blueberry blue, which is not typical of Shoresy jerseys. It's similar to our Wolves jersey, which is a dark blue. And then we also in the show they call Sudbury Sud Vegas. So we
Oh,
put Sud
yes.
Vegas here on the neck piece, and like this is my favorite touch. I'm so proud of this. It just came together beautifully. And yeah, so the story behind it is really just combining what essentially for me was Sudbury or is Sudbury, which is blueberries, with the blueberry bulldogs and wrapping that all up into a jersey. And then it turned out like this, and it's my favorite thing in the whole world.
So we chatted a little bit this before the webinar, so I'm just gonna give you your opportunity. What was the
Yes.
reception like for the jersey?
So, like I mentioned a little bit, in past years, the jersey, we do this once a year with Shoresy. So we've done the jerseys before. They've been monotone, they've been white, they've been light colors. So they've been good, but this year it's much bolder, it's much brighter. There's nostalgic components to it that people can relate to. So as soon as we rolled it out, it just became like ultra viral. Um, People, we weren't originally going to be selling it. We were only going to auction it for charity. And then when we saw the love for it, we had decided to sell it. If you guys are familiar with sports, you guys know Bar Down. They're a huge sporting company, announcing company. And they took our jersey, they reposted it, which was huge for us. It ended up getting us like a lot of new followers, a lot of sales. Obviously, a portion of these proceeds do go to Shoresy as well for letting us use their brand. Shoresy saw the increase, and then they said, you know what? We're gonna sell it too. So it kind of just got like way, way bigger than I think any of us ever anticipated. And just seeing people fall in love with something that you create on like I would say a very North American scale, maybe not global, but North American, it was just very fulfilling because I have a personal connection to why I created it this way.
And to me, like when I remember seeing the post, like the announcement, and to me, like the first thing that I saw was the blueberries.
Yeah.
Because as like a fellow marketing person, like anything that's like packaging and logos, like it just catches my eye. And I remember seeing
Mhm.
that and being like, oh, that's different. Oh, that I don't
Yeah.
you don't usually see that on a jersey. And that's just what made it feel like a little bit more like elevated. That it's like, oh, this isn't just like a usual sports jersey. This isn't like the one that you just buy, for your kid or for your dad. This was like, oh, there's something special about this. And I think it was
Yeah,
because of the blueberries and combining all the colors that it felt so much more personal.
yeah, like and that I think was the inspiration was to make a jersey that didn't look like a jersey that we've done before or
Mhm.
that was being done. I mean, there's tons of really great creative jerseys out there, especially in other leagues across the United States and in other sports leagues, like in baseball, they do a lot of creative jerseys. But for the Sudbury Wolves organization, historically, we've never done anything that was outside of what is like rigidly I would say, you know, wolf ferocious, very like dark, edgy. So I was like, I don't want it to be edgy. I want it to be cute. I want it to be fun. I want it to make you think of your mom or make you think of the summertime. You know, I want you to wear it because you like wearing it, not just because, you know, just because. So that was, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's incredible. And then to see that go all over the place is so validating. So I guess the bar is really raised for next year now.
Yeah, literally. I don't know what we're gonna do next year. Uh, I mean,
Okay.
I haven't even thought about it.
I was just thinking about as you were chatting and you were saying, you guys do this every year. And I was like, how can you outdo this year like the next time?
Oh, oh God. Oh no. Uh,
Okay, so kind of going off of planning content, but I
mhm,
spied and you mentioned at the beginning of the webinar that you're a bit of an entrepreneur yourself, and you run a
mhm,
popular TikTok page with over 8,000 likes. So how do you, I know that the TikTok is a little bit more beauty than sports, but how do you
mhm.
approach planning content for your personal account compared to your work account?
Yeah, so I obviously started in that space. And the thing about beauty content is you're constantly grasping at what is coming next. The new
Mm-hmm.
product, a new trending audio, a new way to apply makeup, a new brand, new, 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 new. It's very ever changing. It is for me now, like now that I've transitioned into more sports marketing and content, it's a little bit tiring to be a creator in that space because you almost like I would say like you try a blush and then you throw it over your shoulder and try the next one. So what I did learn from that experience though is that's where I learned to trend spot and data mine content because you constantly have to be on high alert for what is incoming and um just how like be alert of what's incoming so that you can make your content so that you keep growing because the goal is always growth, right? So yeah, like it was definitely like a different vibe, but I'm still able to utilize like what I learned from that in sports. I'm actually right now, one of my fun goals this year is to try and incorporate the two a little bit more. Um, you see it more in like the WNBA and PWHL where they're incorporating um, makeup and health and skincare brands into like their sponsorships and content. We haven't done that, but I'd like to. So I'm looking how to bridge that gap now in male sports.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I have two more questions for you, but I'm just going to give
Yeah.
everybody a little heads up that after these two questions, I'm opening up the floor to our Q&A. So if you have a question for Sam, you can either put it in the chat or in the Q&A. I'll see them either way. So just as I ask these last few questions, if you guys want to get thinking and start throwing them in. So going off of data mining, trend spotting, and everything, how do you think marketing in Sudbury will change this year in 2026?
Well, I mean, marketing in general right now is going through like a very pivotal stage. We talked a little bit about people have digital fatigue.
Mhm.
You know, we've all collectively been on the internet now for a very long time, but I think we've all been very plugged in these past 10, 5, 10 years.
Mhm.
Um, which is now, I think people are looking more for like tangible things. They're looking for where they can find value. So, in terms of marketing and how I plan to, attack it for Sudbury and just in general, is just becoming human focused, more relatable, less perfect, less curated. I'm so tired of curated content, and I think most people are. They want to see, the nitty gritty, and they want to be able to connect and relate. And I think AI plays a huge part in that too. People are definitely tired and not comfortable with AI. So I think just like leaning into people and um just human first is like where I intend to go with that.
I couldn't agree more. We've been testing that out on our own side of showing more the human. And it's like it brings a much more deeper side to like relatability where it's not just like, oh, I
Yes.
go there. It's like, oh, I feel that. Oh, I've been through that. Oh, that connects with me.
Absolutely. And that's how you get people to come out to events. They don't like there are the people obviously that are going to come out just to watch the hockey, but I'm trying to build new forever fans, and the only way to do that is to connect them emotionally with what we have to offer and give value beyond just a hockey game. That's the trick.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody has like a perfect answer to how to do that. It's just right now it's trial and error because we live in a digital age.
Hmm. So, what can we expect from your marketing campaigns in 2026 with this more human approach?
So we kind of tested the waters a little bit this past season by doing a home opener street party where we shut down
Mhm.
the street that's right by our arena and turned it into like an outdoor festival, with live performers, live music, food, and really made it an experience. You didn't have to be a fan or you didn't have to be a ticket holder. It was open to everybody. And we saw such great feedback and success with that I think that really speaks to, like I said, what the market is looking for, more value, more relatability, just something that they can touch and see and smell
Mhm.
and be a part of. So I would like to continue down that line and focus on how am I bringing value to people who purchase that ticket? What else are they getting other than just the viewing a hockey game? So I'm leaning really into thinking of these games like events rather than like games.
I love that. It's like just changing the dynamic of how we market like a sports team
Yes.
and going after those forever fans. Like, yeah, this year is going to be so much fun to kind of keep an eye on you now that we kind of know a little bit more about what's going
Yeah.
on. It'll be fun to see your posts and be kind of like, oh, like that's like, oh, I heard about this, or oh, that's them feeding into this approach. I see it now. I see the
Yes,
strategy.
stay tuned. Stay tuned, everybody.
So speaking of strategy, I have a question from the audience now.
Okay.
Does the strategy for reaching non-followers change when you don't want everyone, but only the right people to see it?
Mm, yes, I mean, like I said, if we're leaning strictly into like trends and wildly hyper viral social content, that's when you're really going to get non-followers. It's when you niche down and become very specific. That's when you know who you're talking to. Right now we're running a campaign. This Friday we have a women in sports game, so we're running a giveaway for all the women in Sudbury. We want to see how they're involved with sports. So we're encouraging people to tag us on social media or send us their photos. And when you really ask a question, you're very direct. You're speaking to your audience. You're speaking to the people that you want to speak to. I think when you're creating broad social content, um, for fun and relatability, that's when you're speaking to everybody.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah.
It's like just get more like niche, like more specific, pretty
Yes,
much.
be more specific. Yeah, just being specific.
Awesome. Okay, next question. Any advice for a team starting out in terms of getting in terms of involving players in team social media campaigns?
Yeah, so when I first started last season, like I said, it wasn't something that was being done here at the organization. So I will say it was a little bit difficult. I had to push really hard to get buy-in from the players because they hadn't done it before. They didn't want to, they didn't want to do the videos, and I had to really teach them and educate them and say, "Hey guys, this is why we're doing this. I promise I won't make you look silly. It's actually fun, and you benefit from it, and so do we." So um, I think just being open about that, because it is difficult to s- put your phone up or put up a camera and say, "Okay, perform." A
Mhm.
lot of people, that's not normal for a lot of people. So I like to look at it from that perspective with our players. I understand that, it's a little different. So I help. I usually try and act things out with them, get them more comfortable. And then after a while, they just get used to it, and then they're willing and they want to do it more. Um, yeah,
I've seen that with yes, a few days ago at Lyra and I we were at the Cambrian Career Fair. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, the FCR, like the chartered accountants, their account, I don't know what they're doing with their social media, but it is incredible. And I
oh,
chatted with
FCR.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
chatted with one of the guys who's in like every video, and I was like, "How did they convince you?" And he was kind of like, once I started doing it, it was really fun. And it was
Yes,
that. It
yeah,
was like you're always kind of shy at first. It's always kind of
yeah,
awkward at first. But then once you start realizing like how silly you get to be, he was saying
yes,
like it's a half an hour break from my desk job to go play. So he
literally.
ended up loving it.
Yeah, and I would also say too, maybe what you were asking was how to find that content to make too. I didn't really touch on that. Um, Something that I've learned over the years in working in all types of marketing is that you can, and I encourage everybody to use the rip off and duplicate format. If you see, what I do now is I follow every single team on the whole planet. Doesn't matter, football, soccer, hockey, basketball, cricket, whatever. And if I see something that I like, I transform it so that it fits for us. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for content, you really have to look. It's almost like studying. You have to flip through the pages of the social media, find what you like, and then rip it off and duplicate it. So, yeah.
And I'll add on to that to say, like, a lot of people get worried because they think it's just like copying, but really, like, social media, it's all about trends and everybody's trying to, like, be the most popular. So
Mhm.
sometimes that's just how it starts. Like, it might feel a little bit like copying, but as long
Yeah.
as you translate it to really, like, your brand and what your brand is looking to
Mhm.
do, then, like, you kind of get that stress a little bit off your shoulders.
And you know what though? I would even say just me versus you doing the same video, there's going to be a different twist on it a little bit.
Mhm.
But even if it was exactly the same, that's okay. People want to see this person do the trend and this person do the trend. That's just what people, it's comfortable. People want to see it. So I don't be afraid to jump head first into the content creation.
Yep. Yep. Okay, I have a little message and a question. So, hi, I work for the OGHL team. My question is, since OGHL teams don't have the same large fan base as OHL teams, what are some effective ways to use social media and community events to increase fan engagement and game attendance?
So I would say the lucky and amazing thing about OJHL is that it's a younger crowd of players, which means that you have a unique opportunity to amplify them through their own community. A lot of what I've noticed about athletes is that they all support each other. So I would lean really heavy into showcasing your players who they are, what they like, what's funny about them, ask them questions, get them out in the community, get them into schools, get them into different events because they're the next in line and people are really rooting for them, their families. Like it's there's a much more tight-knit community the lower down in the league you go. So you do have a huge opportunity. People are, I think, young 14-year-old hockey players, maybe they don't relate much with the content that I make with the Wolves. But maybe they'll relate more with the content that you make with the GOJHL team because they're at the same level. They want to feel represented and relate. So I would just say just make that relatable content that represents the core of what your team and who your team is.
Absolutely. That's great advice. So another question, we're getting lots. This is good. How has the success on social media impacted ticket sales? So kind of like I'm gonna ask a little bit deeper, but like when you post something, will you see like the next day, like how that post has influenced tickets and driven sales? And is there some where it's like, oh, if I post this kind of content, usually the sales will go up a little bit more?
I would say, and this might not be the best answer, but no. Advertising promotions in-house work better to translate to sales. We just recently did a $1 hot dog promotion. So obviously the posts that we posted about that specifically likely led to sales, but realistically it was the promotion itself that drove the sales. I would say like broader social media, it doesn't necessarily translate directly to a ticket sale. Like we've had some videos get more than 1 million views, but we didn't sell 1 million tickets to the next game. It's more about conditioning people um, to be thinking about us more than they would before. So the more content they see of us, the more they think about us, the more likely they are to buy a ticket. So I don't I as much as I would love to say social media translates directly to sales, it's just the top of the funnel. There's so many other things that have to get done to get a consumer to actually get to the purchase point. Um, Although, yes, in a way, like I said, because it is top of the funnel, of course it does impact, but it doesn't have a direct view to ticket link that I'm sure everybody wishes it did.
Yeah, because with the funnel, it's like I always kind of explain it's like when you're shopping online and it's like if you're shopping on like Amazon, you're looking at the price, how much it is, where is it coming from, when is it going to get delivered, is it reputable, is like this. So it's not just like did I find the product, but there's so many other questions that come in after that.
That's the thing too. Like you might watch a ton of videos of people and maybe they're all wearing Uggs or a boot that looks like an Ugg. Maybe this is, you're consuming this content for weeks or months and then you're walking by Soft Mock one day and you go, wow, that shoe is so cute. You can't directly necessarily relate it to what you've been seeing, but you are ultimately pushed to purchase because you've been conditioned to purchase it. So I think that that's just how social media helps. It's
Yeah.
just top of the funnel.
I totally agree. I always say like you want to be like a little bit everywhere because you want to like always kind of be on their mind, always have like a little something that kind of reminds them of you and brings them back.
Yes.
I'm gonna ask one final question before we wrap up. So, would you say that the rise of the PWHL has brought a new type of audience to Sudbury? And would this impact the overall marketing of the Wolves?
So I would say maybe not directly to Sudbury, because our closest PWHL team is the Toronto Scepters, which are in Toronto. Great team, by the way. And I love everything that the PWHL is doing. I would say that the PWHL and the growth of the PWHL and their visibility is just great for hockey of all levels in general because more often than not, unfortunately, there's been a very specific type of what a hockey fan looks like and how they are and who that person is. And that's thawing. It's not the case anymore. Hockey fans look and are tons of different people, and that's what we want. We want more women involved, and that's what's happening because of the rise of the PWHL. I mean, I wouldn't say it directly affects the Sudbury Wolves, but overall, throughout the years, it will have a huge positive impact on, you know, groups of women coming out to the game
Mhm.
rather than just solely like groups of men or men and their wives. Like, we want women to feel empowered to like the sport on their own, and the PWHL gives them a platform for that.
That's fantastic. Okay, we're almost at the top of the hour. So, Sam, do you have any last pieces of advice or any last things that you'd like to share with the group?
Don't be afraid to try things that are outside of the box of normal. In sports marketing, it's historically been pretty rigid, I would say. It's a big boys club, it's very male dominated, so don't be afraid to rise, to try new things, to break into new spaces, because it ultimately is going to help your company and also you.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for being here and just taking the time out of your day to share some advice and share a bit
Thank you
of
so
your
much.
story. If anybody's curious of following more about Sam, obviously go follow the Sudbury Wolves. That
Yeah.
kind of goes without speaking. But also check out their other accounts because, like she said, they do different content on different accounts.
Hmm.
And you can go connect with her on LinkedIn. And, we'll probably be in touch again and do something like this again because this was so much fun.
It was.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Have a great weekend. And
Bye,
everybody
everyone.
else, thank you for coming.